back to another stream on the channel. I hope we're well. A lot to run through this game week. Quick and fast turnaround. But first off, Happy New Year. I hope we're all well and enjoying the week of football. It's great to have. Oh, I can hear myself. What can I hear myself? That's better. Sorry. I hope we're having a good game week. My phone is up here. I don't know if you guys can hear me because I'm using my phone, so maybe that sounded a bit far away. I do apologise for that. But again, like I said, I hope you had a good Christmas. And sorry, yeah, the audio sound is gritty. I do apologise. My phone was left up there. Sound is muffled. Apologies, guys. Apologies. I hope it is a bit better. But like I was saying, still bad, really. Hold on, let me double check. All good now. Let me know if it's better. Is it better? Okay, all good now. Sorry, guys. I do apologise. I got too excited. For anyone who is unfamiliar, I was actually in the stream with Dean and Gianni. So I've actually been live, and there's been a lot of news since we last spoke on the last stream. So first off, let me quickly take a second to compose myself and put together the graphics for the stream, because I was on stream before this. I actually didn't get the opportunity to do it. So bear with me just a second, and do say hello in chat, and we'll run through who we got in here. But I'm just going to be making the graphics in the background. Just need to update my rank because that is not up to date. Again, we had a flying game week last game week. Florian Wirtz with the armband. And I was absolutely delighted with it. I mean, it was a week in which I didn't think once about bringing in Wirtz, and when I woke up, I just decided to do it. A lot of you guys who weren't in the deadline stream would have been confused to see my team the following game week, but it was a move I made, and I doubled down by captain, and it just happened to go my way. And going into this game week, I'm very happy to own a player like Wirtz because I think he's actually been very, very good. So let's see how this game week goes, again, with Wirtz over Szoboszlai. It'll be a week where a lot of people will own Dominic Szoboszlai, but again, I'm more than happy to use Wirtz to go against it. Thank you for subscribing, Max. I do appreciate it. But I am just updating the background, guys. Do bear with me just a second. Other than that, though, elsewhere in my team, I actually decided not to go with Hincapié to Gabriel. Now, the reason for that, and which we'll talk about in just a second, we'll break down the news that we have. But it looks like there is no Declan Rice for Arsenal tonight, which is, incredible news in terms of that is probably the biggest loss that you could have in that Arsenal team. And it just happened to land this game week. So let me quickly show you my team so you can actually see what's going on and have an idea on where my team is going. So let me quickly update that, and then we'll get chat up so you can see what you guys are saying. Here is my team for this game week. Let me quickly zoom in. Usually I have this all sorted before we hop live, but here we go, guys. Again, sorry. Give me 2 seconds. I'll just fix the display. Maybe if I zoom in, there you go, much better. So there is my team for game week 19, ladies and gentlemen. And again, like I said, I have the exact amount of money to do Hincapié up to Gabriel, and then due to last night's price rises, I was priced out. But I think we're starting to see a lot of team news coming out, and let's actually pull up some of that so you guys are with me. So there have been a few quotes based on Declan Rice, and I'm going to pull them up for you guys right now, but basically it's about Declan Rice. He has a knee injury, and he was actually with the team on the bus, which is very interesting. It's quite rare that he travels with the squad in his tracksuit and everything, and it turns out that he's not involved. But sorry, guys, I just realised I didn't. I just read chat. Jimenez injured. I know this is Dean Jones and Gianni absolutely baiting me, but thank you guys for the raid again. For all you who are coming from Chasing Green Arrows, welcome to the stream. If this is your first time watching, welcome to the stream. Do hit the like button and subscribe. Let me pull up chat though so you guys can be seen. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. Jimenez injured, that's brilliant. I knew you guys would have been plotting something. I'm just popping out chat so you can see it on stream. Anyway, going back to the Declan Rice quote again, sorry if you've already seen this and it is boring you, but I kind of want to talk about it on the bigger perspective on how this affects maybe some of the other players in different positions like Jerry and Timber, like Hincapié. Again, Timber is also with the squad, as far as I'm aware, and this is the thing that a lot of people are talking about. He is definitely with the squad. He's been spotted. Again, this is what we do as FPL content creators. We try to pull together the pieces like a jigsaw puzzle. Even with the information, though, it isn't always. It's not always going to be concrete. But that's what we have. Hold on, I'm just trying to update things so you guys have chat. Oh, there you go, so I can see all you guys again. Great to see you all, Janny and Dean in chat. Good to see you, Kieran, as well. And Raul is apparently injured. Again, for anyone who is unfamiliar, he's not actually injured. But just going back to... is Matt's Wafer going to play Pep injured? We'll get to your questions in just a second, ladies and gents. But I just want to cover everything that's going on with Declan Rice. And Jurrien Timber. So it looks like Jurrien Timber is definitely included in the squad. Whether or not he's going to be in the starting lineup, I don't think anyone could tell you. But it is looking good in terms of a start for Hincapié, which I know sounds quite greedy because, we'd never want players to be injured. But from my own greedy perspective, I think it is after turning out well for myself so far. And again, like I said, you will be quite positive on a Timber start. I don't think anyone can tell you whether or not he's going to start, and I don't think we'll find out by the time the deadline passes. But for the information that we do have with Declan Rice missing this game, if Declan Rice is fit enough to, or if Jurrien Timber is fit enough to play, he will play. From my own thought process anyway. And let me know if you disagree with that. But anyway, let me get back to chat. Hello everyone in chat, and Happy New Year for all of you who are joining me for the last stream and video of the channel before we go into 2026. I hope we're all well and enjoying all the content that has come this year. Again, I've worked quite hard to try be as consistent as possible, and it's great to see a large number of you joining me week to week on the deadline streams and on the videos. So hello to everyone in chat. Do show your face. Who do we have here? We have Fahim. He says, Choi, the best Declan Rice replacement. I can't believe I have to do a -4 this game week. Yeah, that's really, really unfortunate for him. And I think a lot of people would have brought in Declan Rice this game week. Simply FPL, good to see you, my man. Sam, how are we? That's one I was not expecting. Good to see you, Sam. The best Declan Rice replacement. That is such a shame. What I would say, though, if you have any single player who will start this game week for you, I don't think I would take a hit. There is no replacement that I can think of, unless it is a Matheus Cunha that would be worth taking a hit for. But if you have no one else that is going to play for you, I think I would be really tempted for a Minta. Now, it is one of those moves that is... that smile on your face when you saw Rice is going to be out. It's a shame. But for me, I think Minta is a good replacement. A lot of people won't like it because of what we've seen in recent weeks, but I do expect him to start this game for Brighton. West Ham have looked absolutely abysmal. I have to say, as poor as teams have been, West Ham haven't been they have been as poor as Wolves in my opinion, and Wolves have been really, really bad. And now I know there will be a lot saying that Nuno can turn this around, and to be honest, if there was a manager that could do it, I would say Nuno Espirito Santos is the man for the job. But again, you can't rely on him to do something like that. And Sam says, I pop in time to time, just too lazy to type. That is unreal, Sam. And it is good to see you, my man. You're the one who got me motivated to try and make some content. And thank you to Anish, who starts off the stream well. He says, cheers, Jai. Thanks for all the tips for 2025. Hoping for an awesome 2026. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. And, I feel like FPL is back to exciting. We've players like Cole Palmer coming back from injury. We're seeing hat-tricks from Kevin Shade. Big injury news going into the new year with Declan Rice missing out. We're unsure if Jurrien Timber or Hincapié is going to play this game week. Lots and lots of news. And from an FPL perspective, it is exciting. And it's great to have all you guys joining me. And thank you, Anish, for supporting the channel, of course. Let me bring up my team and I'll talk about chat separately. But yeah, it is going to be very interesting. Sorry, I'm just going to pop out chat for myself. Apologies, guys. 2 seconds. Chat. There you go. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I feel like it is going to be a very happy new year. I'm actually really excited. I don't know. Let me know in chat, guys, if you have anything planned for the new year. I myself don't have anything crazy planned except watch some football. Anish, 16 months. Yeah, that's crazy work from Anish, by the way. You are our longest reigning channel member, and fair play. Good to see FPL Jinx. Anto in chat, he says, Anto is in the house. How are we all keeping? Hope you had a great Christmas. We did have a great Christmas here. I really, really enjoyed my Christmas. Spent it with my own family and then went up to the missus' family, and they've been taking care of me since. I've actually picked up a slight little knock on my way up here. I'm yellow flagged, but I'm returning from illness, so I'm all well. So let's talk about my own team then. CUNHA captain. Let's talk about CUNHA captain. Let's first put up a poll about CUNHA. How are you guys on the captaincy? Let's put up a captaincy poll real quick. Let's go Haaland, of course, leading the line. Let's go CUNHA second. And let's put an other option in there. Let me let you guys know where I stand currently on Matheus Cunha. So for me, I feel like Cunha will be my captain for Gameweek 19. What it comes down to is, the responsibility Cunha now takes up in this United team after Bruno is injured. Along with his routes to points, whether it's free kicks, penalties, bonus points, which he's, a monster for. We've seen him in previous seasons be very, very good on the bonus. And also, playing his old team in Wolves at home at Old Trafford. I mean, there's a lot going into this game that I do fancy about not only Matheus Cunha, but United, when they've also switched their system to 4 at the back, and they have players playing out of positions. And also, they've looked quite good in recent weeks. Cancelo disrespect, Dorgu, Sam says, do you remember when we used to throw the armband on Cancelo, Sam? I was there when we done that. Absolutely amazing. And it looks like Patrick Dorgu was playing out of position, which I feel like is actually, a very nice pickup considering he's at 4.1 million. I think if he was any other price, maybe a 4.5 or more, I don't feel like I'd be persuaded by Dorgu. But now that he's only 4.1 million, I know he's risen last night, but a great option playing out of position. And I seen, Sam, that you put up a post about putting the armband on him if you got 250 likes. I'm unsure if you got there, but best of luck with that if you are going there. And, so many people have injuries, and it's very interesting. FPL Mackham says, would you captain Ekitike or Cunha for obvious reasons, not captaining Haaland? I spoke about on Chasing Green Arrows how Ekitike is not the worst captain this week. I mean, a lot of the projections this game week, if we pull them up from Rob T, let me quickly pull them up. But I am fairly confident that Ekitike is very, very high up on the projections. I'll try pull them up real quick. Ekitike on the goal scored. Sorry, that's the wrong week. Anyway, I've not got an updated graph right here, but if we look at the week-to-week projections for the teams, Liverpool, of course, very, very high up on the list, 2.04 projected goals. And another member of the Cup of Choice, 7 months in running for Davis. Thank you, Davis, for supporting the channel. He goes, Villa's run comes to an end this evening. Love to see that, Davis. Channel members all getting involved today. He goes, Happy New Year as well. Happy New Year to you as well, Davis. Again, you've been one of the most active members in the WhatsApp group. Again, if you are looking to become a member, lads, do click the join button. And nothing special in my group chat, not on gatekept, but a tight-knit community that we speak on a week-to-week basis. So if you are looking to join, do become a member. And thanks again, Davis. I'm curious to see what you guys have in terms of the Villa-Arsenal game. If I were to predict it, I'm going to say a 1-1. Do let me know in chat how you see this game going. I think it'd be a very, very tight game. And this Declan Rice injury changes a lot for me. I mean, he is their best player. I think in comparison to Villa, you might say that Boubacar Kamara is equally as important, and I think you might be right there. But Declan Rice, a player who's filling in multiple positions this season for Arsenal, and he's been, amazing. He's been one of the standouts this season. Villa get a header and equalise, says Gary, a 1-1 draw. 2-1 to Arsenal, Oliver says. Harry says 0-0. Mike says 2-1. Gavin says 3-1. Come on, you Gunners. Not words that often come out my mouth, but I think a lot of people will fancy Arsenal going into this game, of course, but I do feel like Rice does change the dynamic a small bit. And Davis, let me know in chat how you feel about that. Kanji says, do you think Thiago plays this midweek? I'm actually still confident of a Thiago start. I know he's missed a lot of midweek fixtures, but I still feel like you can be confident in him starting this Premier League game. And again, the reason I think he's missed a few midweeks is because there have been a few fitness doubts with him being subbed off and picking up knocks. But I don't think there are too many doubts going into this game week with Thiago. And Whether or not you think he's going to return this game week is a different conversation. I think I'm comfortable to have. Another channel member, welcome to the channel, Sigurd. Thank you for supporting the channel, and do send me your number, whether that's on Twitter /X. Sorry guys, I'm getting caught up in words on what to call things, but welcome Sigurd, and thank you for supporting the channel. Let me know how I can add you to my WhatsApp group, and we'll get you added ASAP Rocky. Quantum says, "Hi Chai, hope you're well. I'm very good. I have Thiago and 1.5 million in the bank. Would you do Thiago to Bowen after Andrew's comments and the possibility that I think he gets benched?" I'm not too worried about Thiago being benched, I'll be honest. The reason I am benching him in my own team is because I don't fancy him getting a goal versus Tottenham, and I actually quite prefer the informed Raul Jimenez. Is he worth making a transfer? I think if your transfer is to get up to an Ekitike, but it sounds like you can't afford to make that move. Another channel membership from FPL Sharp. He says, "Up the Villa regardless. Welcome Sigurd." Thank you, Sharp, for supporting the channel as usual. You guys are absolutely smashing it. Thank you, Sharp. Again, a Villa fan and trying to rival what Davis is saying, but we'll get to Thiago in just a second. I just want to get to Davis's comment. He says, "Rice is a huge loss." What else he says? He says, "Hoping to see how it goes with Zubamendi. Odegaard and Eze midfield should be enough, especially with Kamara out." I agree. I don't think you'll struggle too much, but it is a big loss nonetheless. And a very, very strong midfield. Thank you guys for all the memberships. You guys are absolutely smashing it going into this game week with your memberships. I do appreciate it. I wonder, do I have a few memberships that I can gift to you guys? Let me quickly see if there's any in there. 2 seconds. Okay, maybe just later we might gift a few memberships. Where are we? Hincapié to Hall and Semenyo to Szoboszlai for a -4. I think, Clive, because Arsenal's, they're struggling with fitness in terms of a squad, I would expect Hincapié to start this game. I mean, when you have so many injuries, why would you change that by taking out Hincapié, who I actually think has been quite good? Davis, let me know what you think of that. You would expect Hincapié to start this game, though, if I'm not mistaken. Cameron says, "Mr. Choi, you wonderful man, start Thiago or Reinders." I actually would start Reinders in this week. Again, I just don't fancy Thiago going into it. "Is Raul Jimenez injured?" says Jamie. Jamie, no, he is not. That was chasing green arrows, trolling me going into this game with Dean, who is a Fulham fan, and Gianni, who's a Chelsea fan. They wanted to, get my mind thinking and tried to scare me with Raul Jimenez being injured, but no, he is not injured. JC seems to think Hincapié does start with Timber at centre back is his call. I do think Hincapié will start this game. I'd be very surprised not to see him. Just to go back to the timeline again, I'm going to be refreshing my timeline more and more because there seems to be a lot of news. Elsewhere in the news, Keane and Grealish doubts from this account, which I don't think is reliable, but it is being thrown around in the community. Keane doubts. I'm not in the mood for this, so I said I would show you guys this just in case you guys were unsure. It is not in concrete, but there are a lot of reliable accounts who are retweeting this, so I just said I'd show you guys. Start Rodgers or Thiago? I mean, that's a hard one, Spacine, who I think I would just start Rodgers in that case. Not because I think he's a high probability of scoring, but if you're playing doubts, then I would just start Rodgers. I'm pretty sure Hincapié will play left back. Yes, Davis says. Sigurd says, "I'm old school 74, so no WhatsApp, so just watch you on YouTube." Appreciate it, Sigurd. That's even better. I mean, you're here supporting the channel and you didn't join for the incentive of the WhatsApp group. Thank you for joining us again. Really, really appreciate it. And shout out to all you guys who are watching. Do hit the like button and subscribe. It really does get us out there on the algorithm, lads, if you want to support the channel without having to click any more buttons. Big Carmo says, "Happy New Year, Chai. Would you take a -4 to bench Wilson to bring in either Gabriel or Dorgo? Although Rice injury means I can live without Gabriel." I don't think it is worth taking a -4 to bench Wilson, Carmo. I think I would just run the risk of playing him, and that's just me. To take a -4, I feel like he has to be a player who's going to have a big impact automatically. I think if you are bringing in a Gabriel, I think with the injury doubts and just coming back from injury, don't feel like it is all that necessary to do. And there we go. There's the update from Rob T, which which I was waiting for. He has the updated projections for the game week. Matthias Cunha and Erling Haaland tied on points. Not many weeks do we see Erling Haaland have a rival in points in terms of models, and Cunha does rival him. So it does back up my case for wanting to go to Matthias Cunha. I think in previous weeks, if Bruno Fernandes was fit, I would have also went with Bruno. So it is good to see for sure. And elsewhere in the list, we have Bukayo Saka, Cole Palmer, Dominic Szoboszlai, Phil Foden, Dorgu. A lot of high scorers this game week because how the fixtures have landed. And it comes for a very exciting game week going into the festive period. Liam says, Choi, what would your number one defender choice be right now with no budget restrictions? For me, I think it would be Lewis Hall. If I were to sell Hincapié this game week, which it doesn't look like I was going to do, I think it would be definitely Lewis Hall for me because he's able to get DEFCON. Burnley's a very, very good opening fixture, which I'm very sought after for me if I'm bringing in someone. Also, the fact that Burnley do give up a lot of DEFCON and Hall has been spectacular since he's come back. I know Newcastle have struggled, but he's very, very good on the eye. And Newcastle do like to play with quite attacking fullbacks. So Lewis Hall will be the pick out of the bunch for me. And looking elsewhere, I think, you can look at an Arsenal asset, but with how the injury doubts have been going into this game week, I think I would hold off, at least for this game week, and that's just me. Just looking back to my own team, like I said, I did have the exact amount of funds to do Hincapié up to a Gabriel last night, but what stopped me was I just felt like that there could have been a few injury scares going into this game week, and we know Arteta is just so discreet with all of his injury news that I just didn't want to do it. And I know Gabriel is back fit, but how fit is Gabriel? That's the real question. And it's a very, very tough fixture with Villa, and there will be some psychological impact going into this game with the injuries. And the fact that Unai Emery has gotten the better of Arteta since the last time they played. So I feel like there is a lot looming on the line in this game. So the pressure is on for Arsenal, that's absolutely no doubt. If Arsenal don't get a result in this game, I could feel like that they could capitulate with no Declan Rice going forward. Again, Arsenal fans, let me know if I'm wrong there, but with the pressure that City seem to be providing, and also the fact that they lose to a Villa team who I'm not sure if they'd overtake them in the league if they did, but let me quickly look how many points Villa are on. I'm fairly sure I'm not too wrong saying that. Premier League team table. Villa are currently on 39 points. Arsenal are on 42. Goal difference is so they'd just be on the same amount of points if Villa did win this game. So I think it is very important for Arsenal to win this game, of course, and I still would fancy Arsenal as favourites. Don't get me wrong, even with all the injury scares, but I feel like it will be a close game and a game where neither team will want to lose. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. And again, I didn't even realise this, but going back to the graph from Solo Analytics, Dorgu and Lewis Hall, 7th and 8th for projected points this game week. I mean, that is so high for defenders. I think when you look at the quality of the players on this list, I mean, only 0.9 in the difference from Saka and Palmer to Dorgu and Hall. So a very, very nice open game week if you are going to go there. Anto says he thinks Villa will win this game week. Oishi says Arsenal is winning, no pressure tonight. Yeah, I do fancy Arsenal still, but again, I don't think you could have lost a bigger player than Rice. He's the league's best midfielder in my opinion, and he's a jack of all trades, especially when the likes of Timber is a doubt. You'd want some security in Rice at least. Raul says, for God's sake, put Thiago playing 11. It will be a huge loss for you. Thiago going to make a huge impact today, says Raul. That's if he starts. There are a few doubts for the people in chat who are doubting a Thiago start. Again, let me know if you're one of them. I would be confident in Thiago starting, and that's just me, but Dan says, would you transfer Rice if Anderson for Fulham is your bench option? Absolutely not. I don't think I would. I think I would, though, if I had a free transfer. And the reason for that, it seems to be his knee, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know if, I'm no doctor or physiotherapist, but if it is going to be a knee, that suggests a few weeks in my opinion. So I probably would replace him. And you're right in saying Kudus is a nice replacement. He's not going to be one who, is going to return every single week, but the fixtures do change for Tottenham, and not only Tottenham, like with Mohamed Kudus, like I said. And if he's going to be on penalties, lads, we do love top six players. Again, Spurs are not a top six team currently, but there has to be an uptick in form for this Thomas Frank team. And Kudus, if we are going to do that, is going to be involved. So for 6.4 million, I believe he is on penalties, I fancy Mohamed Kudus going forward. Whom to replace Antoine Semenyo with, would you reckon, Aaron says. I actually don't mind holding on to Antoine Semenyo this game week. I think this will be a both teams to score match, in my opinion. Bournemouth have just looked very brittle, but from an attacking standpoint, they're always good for a goal. So I actually, if you think he's going to start, would hold on to Antoine Semenyo. And I know it is at the bridge, but Chelsea haven't looked exactly solid at the back either. FPL Discomfort says the league's best player, not only best midfielder. Fair enough. Jamie says, if Thiago doesn't start, will he feature, do you think? I doubt it. I think if he's if he's with the squad, he's going to start. And if he's not starting, he's not going to be brought on. I doubt it anyway. Thoughts on Brennan Johnson leaving Spurs? Con says, yeah, for anyone who's new here, I am a Spurs fan. And I actually think it is both a brilliant signing for Crystal Palace, in a sense where I think he could do very well there, but also a very good sell for Tottenham, and good bit of business. I know a lot of people are saying how 15 million in the difference from what we signed him for, but again, you look at what he's brought. He brought a trophy to Tottenham. He's been our top goal scorer last season. And he's done his bit, and it is time for him to go. I don't see him having a future at Tottenham. Not because necessarily I think he's a poor player, but he's a player who is definitely, it's very important, his confidence, and he's young. So I think he needs a new environment, and I don't think there is a better one than Crystal Palace. You look at other players who've joined Crystal Palace, like the likes of Nketiah. Now, his time there has been stop-start, but he's another player who just needed to get out of Arsenal and wasn't getting the minutes he needed. And a good move, in my opinion. And I think he'll play a similar role to Ismail Assar. Looming around in and around the box, quick on transition. Elsewhere in the deal, I feel like Spurs need to make moves early. Under Daniel Levy, we were always a team to make really, really late moves, selling players. Selling players were our biggest problems because we'd always ask for more than, in my opinion, the players were. And this would cause us more hassle than it was worth. 35 million for Brennan Johnson. I'd absolutely snap your arm off for that. The only thing that is wrong with that deal is that Forest have a 10 million clause on that, so I'd imagine we probably ask for a small bit more to cover that fee, but overall, good move in my opinion. Troy, do you think we can get a win versus Brentford this week? I absolutely think we can get a win versus Brentford this week. We were absolutely shocking versus Crystal Palace. I have to say, we were woeful. Hoofing the ball left, right and centre, which is not the Spurs way, but a win nonetheless versus a team who've been good so far this season. Mind you, they have been struggling so far this season, but I feel like we can definitely get a win versus Brentford. And if I sit here and telling you that we cannot get a win versus Brentford, that's when I know we're in a tough place. So I'm confident that we can get a win versus Brentford. I see a good few free hit requests. So let's bring up Solio Analytics optimal free hit. Here I have a free hit from Solio Analytics. For anyone unfamiliar, they do their best free hit team, and to be honest, I wouldn't waver too far from this. Let me quickly read it out for anyone who's listening. On goal, we've got David Raya. A four at the back with Dorgu, Dallo, Hall and Gabriel. Five in midfield, Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, Cunha, Szoboszlai and Saka. And up top has Erling Haaland with the armband. Now, is there too much I would change from this? I don't think so. It is very hard for me to sit here and tell you that I would change much from this team. Just looking at it though, I feel like it is quite bold to double up on the United fence. I think I would probably rather get, maybe a Malik Chow and double up on Chow and Hall. Other than that, Palmer looks quite good if you are confident in his minutes. And you cover the Mateus Cunha, who I actually fancy for captain this game week. So my team would not be far off this, and I hope I've answered your free question. Is Mats Wafer going to play? So I actually cannot answer that question, and the reason for that is because Brighton are one of the more unpredictable teams so far this season. I think all was good when we were getting the bib team news on the timeline, but since then it's been very, very unpredictable about what team Herzl is going to play. And for me, if you're asking me, I do think Weaver will start this game versus West Ham after getting the bench in the last game week. I would be quite confident of it. And I do apologise if I am scrolling on the timeline, lads. I just do not want to miss any team news that we can get. Again, there are a lot of noise around Arsenal, for example, and it is vital that we get everything that we can. But massive loss for Declan Rice and Arsenal, of course. And I'm seeing a small bit of panic start to settle in. Sorry, I'm just going to bring back up this graphic from Rob T again. I think it is interesting to see how things change. From what I noticed, 3% downtick since the Declan Rice news for Arsenal, which is definitely interesting. Andrew says, Thiago and Timber, both doubts, bench is poop. I have Anderson, Fulham, Guy and Esteve. Considering Esteve to Dorgo to give some depth. Thoughts, please, Choi. Andrew says, I would definitely make that move, Esteve to Dorgo, if it is not for a hit. I would definitely start Dorgo ahead of probably Thiago anyway. And if Timber misses out, I would definitely be happy with having Anderson off the bench. You know, you have to realise that there are a lot of people there with a Joe Rodon, who looks like he's going to miss this game. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't. I believe he's suspected to miss 3 weeks. A lot of people have Chris Richards. Again, no timeline on Chris Richards and whether or not he's going to play this game. And like Spacina said, you know, there are a lot of doubts between Michael Keane, Grealish and Alcaraz, who I got on the timeline a second ago. So I feel like, Andrew, if you have a bit of depth with Anderson, I don't think I'd be too worried there. Again, guys, I do ask you for the festive period and the Happy New Year shouts, do hit the like button and subscribe. Again, we are on the way to 10k subscribers and we're getting closer and closer as the weeks go on. Let me quickly pull up our channel and show how we're getting on so far, but 9.42 thousand subscribers on the channel. Again, it's been a very, very enjoyable week for myself since I've been consistent this year making content on the channel. And again, I do appreciate all you kind souls joining me on a week-to-week basis, being your content creator of choice. I do respect that. I'm not necessarily the best content creator, but I hope I do entertain you guys one way or another, and it's good to see that you guys are enjoying the content on here as usual. Shout out to all you kind souls. Anyway, getting back to my own team, I want to speak a small bit about my own team. Again, I've been very, very happy that I've been patient this game week. I know I could have went Hincapié to Timber, but I feel like I could have a small bit more issues than looking at that move. Hincapié will be a sell for my team next game week, but I did say if I can get this last game, squeeze this last game out of Hincapié with Villa at home, which looks like I am going to get, you know what, I'm a happy camper, and I don't think I necessarily need to go to a Gabriel just yet. I just feel like it is not the greatest entry point, in my opinion. Is Dorgo captain crazy? I wouldn't say it's crazy, but it's definitely, you know, wouldn't be my choice of captaincy this game week. FPL Chicken says, I have no bench. KDH, Rodon, and Guy need 0 rotation. Pray for me. Yeah, not ideal that, Chicken. Let me know if you have any more moves left. Radu says, sell Timber, Richards and Vandenberg for -8. I have Rice and Goodmanson as bench cover. If yes, who to buy? I don't think I'd be taking a -8 there, Radu. I think I'd be selling Rice and be hopeful of a Timber / Richards start. Would you start Gahey or Anderson for Fulham? I actually would play the home fixture in Gahey. Good DEFCON. You know, I'd probably fancy Crystal Palace over Fulham in this game as well. Do you think you might squeeze an extra few weeks from Hincapié, or is he still a sell? Sean, next week I think I'll be selling Hincapié anyway. I don't fancy the fixture next week, or the fixtures in general for Arsenal. That's probably why I've not moved early on going to a Gabriel. And also, Hincapié has been very, very good, but I just feel like, you know, whether it's a Lewis Hall, who I could go to this game week if I plan on selling Hincapié anyway, but I don't know. I still, sorry, I know I'm speaking about my own team, but I still could be tempted to go to a Lewis Hall this week. Like, there's such high upside of going Hall this game week, lads. You could easily see a double-digit Hall if... double-digit Hall, I didn't mean that. But yeah, double-digit Hall if Hall does get DEFCON. Because if he gets DEFCON, you'd be quite confident in him being somewhat involved if there are a few goals in this game. And as poor as Newcastle have been, I do think there are goals in this game for sure. Start Wilson or Minta, says Kieran. I I would definitely start Minsa. Also, would you transfer Foden to Kuna or roll the transfer? That's a tough one. I've seen a lot of people talk about doing Foden to Kuna, and I think the only way in which I would do it is if I was planning to captain Mateus Kuna. Elsewhere, I don't think I'd make the move. I do feel like if you don't own Kuna this week, though, there will be a large amount of active managers bringing in Kuna and captaining him. FPL Discomfort says, Charlie, I don't necessarily trust the source, but he's been right on Everton before, and now with a risk of being out plus Brantway in January, just makes sense for me personally to go Tarkovsky. Yeah, I don't mind the Tarkovsky move, but what I would say with that, with Michael Keane missing out in this Everton team, I think that significantly decreases Everton's chances of clean sheets. Brantway and Keane, I feel like Keane has been very, very good this season so far. So I think I'd actually just shy away from going to the Everton guys. If I had a Michael Keane in that place, I'd actually just avoid Tarkovsky overall. And that's just my own opinion. I can understand if you want to go with Tarkovsky still. He's still a player who's going to be great for the DEFCON. And you might argue now that Keane is gone, he actually might be even better for DEFCON. Pick your narrative. I can understand both ways. Liam says, what's up, Choi? Hello, Liam. Torn on whether I should go with Wilson and Timber to Kuna and Dorgo. I think I would. I think I would make those moves. Not because Timber is necessarily a must sell, but Kuna and Dorgo is a significant upgrade. I think particularly for this game week, if you are putting the armband on Mateus Kuna. Is Villa on your mind? Says Visser. To answer your question, Visser, it's hard to say. Right now, no. I'm happy to go without Villa. The reason for that is because they've significantly overperformed a lot of numbers in recent weeks, but there's no doubt Villa are on a run. I think particularly if we see a result today in this Arsenal game, I mean, I can't imagine the uplift that will give this Villa team. Not only in confidence, but in general. I think if Villa get a result today, as much as they won't want to say it, they'll be like, we can go on for the league. I know Emery is speaking, maybe in game week 34 we can start speaking about that. But a result versus Arsenal today, which would put them only, 2 points behind if they get a draw. And if they get a win, they'll be even on points. Well, they'll definitely be going and saying that they'll be on for the league, without a doubt. We often speak about how if you're top of the tree come Christmas, you're on for the league. Not that they will be top of the tree if they win, but I just feel like the environment changes. If we quickly pull up Aston Villa real quick, let's look at FPL team and take a look at, sorry, I didn't mean to do that, FPL team. And quickly look at some of the fixtures for Villa. After this game with Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace, Everton, Newcastle, Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton, Leeds, Wolves. Great fixtures in there for Wolves, without a doubt. So I do quite fancy Villa, particularly Morgan Rogers. I don't think I could see myself going to, for example, a Mallon or a Watkins. But I do think Rogers is a pick of the bunch for me, and he still comes in at a respectable price. So I do quite fancy the Villa guys going into game week 20, and even more so if they get a result today. Triple captain, please. If I was triple captain, I would be going the differential route in Mateus Kuna. That's just me, though, and I can understand if you disagree with that. I'm seeing a lot of questions about Matt Sweefer. I think he will play this game. You can never be sure, though. DCL, she says, I think you've missed the boat on DCL. I think at this rate, DCL is going to be on for top scorer alongside Erling Haaland, which I don't see likely. I think we'll see a downtick in DCL's goals. But saying that, been really impressed with Daniel Farke's Leeds. I watched them versus Sunderland. They absolutely battered Sunderland, which I did not expect, I have to say. So, DCL is not a bad move at all. And if you are going there, by all means, but at the same time, if you do not want to go with DCL and you're just going with the Haaland-Ekitike structure, I also quite like that. Just refreshing the timeline, guys, because you never know what you're going to see on it with a midweek deadline. Let's see if we can get any information at all. Not as of yet, but we will be keeping all tabs. And for you guys who are in chat, do put your comments in the comment section below and let me know if you see anything on your timeline or you feel like you've gotten any information that is worth sharing. I'll try to pull it up on stream. And again, appreciate you guys in chat who have been so engaged. Again, one thing I love about my chat is that we have a tight-knit group. There are 165 of you guys currently in here, and I can try to answer as many of your guys' questions as possible, and you can be as engaged as possible. It's good to see. And I do apologise if I can't get back to all your questions. I do try my best. Bean says, do you still fancy double Arsenal defence with no Rice? Tempted to go Timber to Hall. I own Nkapie. And that is a good conversation to have. I think this would be my route to talk about Arsenal defenders. I think particularly Jerry and Timber. Look at those fixtures, lads. I think if these were any teams, now I know Arsenal will still be top of the tree in terms of clean sheet probabilities every single week. That's no surprise. But when you're paying the premium price of 6.5 million for Jerry and Timber or a 6.2 for Gabriel, you want two things. Guaranteed minutes, that's the first thing. And secondly, good fixtures. I don't care if you're Arsenal, you still want the good fixtures. And that's why I don't think Arsenal defence is necessarily mandatory. There's a lot of value that you could get from a Dorgu, 4.1, or a Lewis Hall, 5.2. You know, there's a big price discrepancy from a Timber to a Dorgu. What is that? 2.1 million, or 2.2 million. 2.3 million. No, it is 2.2 million now that Dorgu's risen in price to 4.2. You know, what I would say with that, though, is because Arsenal are still the highest predicted clean sheeters every single week, it's hard to look past them. And if Timber is fit, he's going to play this game versus Villa. I don't think they can risk playing Ben White in this game. Apparently Solio might do an update in 30 minutes. Con, where did you see that? Sorry, I answered your question already. No DEFCON for Timber and attacking returns are unpredictable, says Jono. Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that, and that is part of the thought process. Ishant says Olympian is captain CUNHA. I believe, if I'm not wrong, that Olympian actually got his captaincy right on CUNHA. He got his captaincy right in general last game week. I'm not sure who he went with, but fairly sure it went his way. But yeah, I don't like double Arsenal defence. I think from game week 21 onwards, then we can have another conversation. But if you own them and hold on to them, I don't mind that. I'm very tempted, lads, to bring in Nkapie this game week. I think if there's any more suspicion about Jerry and Timber missing this game, or Nkapie, I don't think Nkapie will miss this game, but I think I could be inclined to make a move to Lewis Hall. I feel like this is such a high, such a high value week for a player like Lewis Hall in this week, and that actually just got me thinking: can I afford to do Lewis Hall from an Anderson or a Richards? I can actually afford to do both of those moves if I wanted. When I say both of those moves, I mean I could do Richards or a Anderson to a Lewis Hall, and that's actually got me thinking and very excited. My preference would still to be Nkapie to Lewis Hall, and the reason for that would be because it opens up 0.2 million in the bank, first off. But if I'm going to do Nkapie, would I not just do Timber if he's the one who is suspected to miss out, and next game week move on Nkapie? Plenty to think about for my own team, lads. The reason my preference was to roll this game week is because it leaves me with two moves that I can make next game week. And with two moves, that leaves me do a Raul who plays against Liverpool next week down to a dead spot, and potentially do Thiago up, but I have other fires to put out, it looks like. Oh, really, Con? Con, that's good to hear that you are largely involved in the Solio Discord chat. Let me know when that is done and we'll take a look. Very good, Con. Love that. We get all different sides of things. Again, I'm going to be refreshing the timeline very often. Gehi or Raul. I think I'd be tempted to start Gehi because I don't think this has been necessarily a high-scoring game week. I know Timber was pictured with the squad, Liam, but you know who else was pictured with the squad? Declan Rice in his tracksuit. Is Semenyo a definite sell? This game week, not necessarily, but overall, yes. Hello, Irish Pitter. I did not see you become a channel member, but welcome to A Cup of Chai. And thank you for the kind words. Laird says, Wilson plus Van Heck to CUNHA and Dorgu. Yes, is your answer. Would you transfer out O'Reilly to Hall? I don't think so, Shaz. Shatara says, start Rodgers or Thiago. I think that's a coin flip. I don't think there's too much in it. I mean, on paper you would start Thiago versus Tottenham. Tottenham are significantly worse as a defence in comparison to Arsenal. Best Senesi replacement if I have Timber, moving him to Hall, Keane and O'Reilly. I would have said Keane before we've got all the news going into this game week. Lewis Hall is the best replacement for anyone as of now. The best other replacement is probably another City defender. I wouldn't say Mateus Nunes. And the reason I say that is because he's another defender who's good for DEFCON and good for attacking threat. Again, guys, he comes in at 5.4 million. I feel like it's a good price. And if we look at Solio, or is it Rob T's graphic where he shows us some of the projections to come in a few game weeks? But if we look at it, if we look at the projected clean sheets behind Arsenal, who have a few doubts, and I'm sure this would have been updated now. This will be updated now that the Royce news is out. But with the amount of doubts to Arsenal's defence, the next best one is City. Looking at some of their odds, if you can look past Game Week 20 and Game Week 22, well, Mateus Nunes looks very nailed, and I cannot see Pep changing that position because who was going to play there? And he's done very, very well for City this season so far. Verbergen or Sanchez this week? Who asked that question? Edo is asking. I probably would play Sanchez again, marginally again, if we look at some of the projections. Brighton are 27%, Chelsea 32%. I don't think it's a good week for either of them, but I would play Sanchez over him. Rio says, Choi, personally, I would recommend you to remove your Spurs bias and start Thiago. Brentford a good side at home and Spurs are Spurs. Rio, say what you want about Tottenham. I don't care if this was Erling Haaland playing against Tottenham. I wouldn't mind benching him versus Tottenham. Tottenham are the only, not the only team, sorry, I don't know why I said that. Were the only team until a certain point to block out Erling Haaland, and then Villa also done it. But I don't necessarily think Spurs have been a poor defence in recent weeks. I look at a lot of the goals that were conceded, a lot of individual mistakes. We have been shocking though, don't get me wrong. Absolutely, we've been shocking. Do you have a Discord, Chai? Says Shatara. Or a members chat. I do have a members chat, Shatara. It comes from all my channel members. Basically, you become a channel member and then you send me on your number and I get you added to the WhatsApp group. Again, I do not gatekeep any information in this WhatsApp group. I do not put I do not claim to put anything phenomenal. What it is a tight-knit group of channel members where we get to speak about our own teams, share our thoughts. So it'd be a good way to support my channel and also get yourself involved in the community. So if you are looking to support the channel, do click the join button, become a member. Elsewhere, Shatara, do follow me on Twitter if you aren't already. And I'm trying to be more active on there. Anto says, I missed your question. I wondered how was your London trip despite the result. I actually really enjoyed the game versus Liverpool. I think as poor as the result was, the missus and myself really enjoyed the game, and it was a fun game to watch, I have to say. 2 red cards, and I thought Spurs were good considering the circumstances. And thank you for asking, Anto. Another question from a channel member, sorry. Fahim says, Choi, Szoboszlai, Gordon, Rodgers, Minta as a Rice replacement for a -4. It's very hard for me to suggest a -4, Fahim. I think out of the ones you mentioned, it's hard to look past the Dominic Szoboszlai or Minta. I'm going to say Szoboszlai because it's the safest one. And he's also on penalties, so I'm going to say Szoboszlai. Sorry guys, I just need to get my charger to plug in my phone. Give me 2 seconds and I'll be back with you. My charger is actually just right here, so 1 second. I'm actually going to continue speaking. But I feel like this is going to be a fun game week for many. I'm actually really glad that there's multiple games on tonight. I was absolutely outrageous to see. Sorry, I just dropped a water bottle. It was absolutely outrageous to see that there was no football, or not no football, but not a large amount of football on Boxing Day. I was actually very disappointed. Oh, would you look at that? Shatara, you're too good. Thank you, Shatara, who's become a channel member. Do send me on your number and I'll get you added. Do send me a message on Twitter and I'll get you added ASAP. Thank you, Shatara. First off, I'm curious, why did you want to become a member? Are you enjoying the content on the channel, or you just want to be involved in a different community? Again, really do appreciate it, and I'm sure a few of the channel members who are in chat will back me in saying that it is a really enjoyable chat. I love my channel member group chat, and this is not me trying to promote it, because you do not need to send me your money. I do not want you. Sorry guys, apologies. You missed everything I said. So when I plugged in my phone, it actually knocked out my microphone. Apologies, guys. So basically, what I was saying was, thank you, Anto, who has gifted us a channel membership. Means a lot. Lip sync. No, I was just saying thank you so much to Anthony, and I was saying, it is a very, very nice place to channel the channel group on WhatsApp, because again, I don't want your money, but it's just such a nice way to support the channel and be involved in a group where you get your message read, and it's a nice way where we share all of our thoughts in a week-to-week basis. So again, apologies guys, my microphone got knocked out, but anyway, as I was saying, thank you Anto for supporting the channel. I was just reading the comment about Liverpool, about how he speaks about set pieces and stuff, and I actually agree with that. A lot of people are getting really frustrated with Van Dijk, and I can understand that when the outcome is not going your way, and it's been like that for a few weeks now. But the goals that they're conceding, they are very, very sloppy, and I don't think Liverpool have been necessarily poor in defence, but overall have been poor. Don't get me wrong. Shatara says, I followed you on Twitter last season when you went a little viral for going against Haaland, and you've been my favourite content creator since. So just wanted to show my support to you and enjoy the extra perks. I mean, that is such a lovely comment, Shatara. Thank you for the kind words and supporting the channel. I really, really do appreciate it. And again, it's been a really enjoyable journey for myself. I've had the privilege of being able to come on here and share my thoughts, as good or bad as, or how valuable they are to you guys, I'm unsure, but I'm just happy to be able to be on here on a week-to-week basis and share my thoughts. I mean, I've been given the platform to do it, and I've tried to be as consistent as possible, and I try to be as back and forth with you guys as possible, because without you guys, it would not be possible. So again, really appreciate you guys. Johnny says, Chai, would you bench Evan Nilsson, Maka or Gakpo this game week? How do you own McAllister, Gakpo, and Evan Nilsson, first off, Johnny? And also, would you sell one of them to Esteval? It's in draft mode, apologies. I would not sell any of them, I don't think, to Esteval. I would probably start Maka. I don't think I'll be starting Gakpo because I'm unsure of a start. But yeah, very interesting question that, Johnny. And best of luck in draft. I hope it's going well for you. Would you have Kevin Shade on a draft, or on a free hit? Sally is asking. I don't think I would. For me, I'd have Foden, one of Verts or Szoboszlai, Matheus Cunha, Saka, at a minimum, I would say. Chimar, good to see you, Dream. Are you keeping Hincapie this week? I'm really, really tempted, lads, to go Hincapie to Lewis Hall. Bass says, Happy New Year, Chai. You're a great content creator. Thank you. Why Cunha, not Haaland? Cuna's projected to do really good this week. Many routes to points. Big responsibility with no Bruno Fernandes. No shade to Erling Haaland. That's not what it's about. For me, just Cunha is a nice way to go against the effective ownership this game week. And I actually quite fancy him against his old team. and there's been an uptick in United's form. Dream says, ignoring last week's return, Mickey Van de Ven gimmick may be returning soon, Shy. The fixtures are just so good. For me, Dream, I actually would preference towards Pedro Porro now that Spence has to play left back. Yeah, I would be going Porro if I had the extra funds. I'm not trying to incentivize him, but I feel like Porro over Van de Ven for me. Ahmed says, I've got 3 City players. Who would you suggest apart from Nunes Hall as a Senesi replacement? That is a tough one. Elsewhere ahead of Nunes and Hall, I'd probably be looking at an O'Reilly, maybe double up on the City defence. I actually feel like that's a nice way to differentiate yourself. Absolutely not. I'm not afraid to go against FPL Olympian. No way. Alright lads, I'm going to do another little scroll on the timeline because I don't want to miss anything. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying the stream. Let's see if we can get any more information before the deadline passes. What have we got here? Lads, okay, I want to do a poll on this because I'm actually really unsure. Would you do Hincapié to Hall or just hold on to Hincapié this game week? Sell Hincapié to Hall. Hold Hincapié. Again, assuming Hincapié is going to start, even if he does, do you see a clean sheet in this game for him? I'm unsure. I'm just really unsure. I think it's like, I have no doubt he's going to start, to be honest. It's just whether or not Lewis Hall provides so much more upside. I'm in need of some immunity this week. Dream says, it's more I want him for the Bournemouth game. Hall looks to be alright punt, but Ramsdale is just diabolical. Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that, but I don't think the Bournemouth game is great from a defensive point of view either. I actually feel like Iriola's team could score a goal against anyone, as poor as they've been. Maybe that's controversial, but that's just me. Rayan Cherky or Szoboszlai, Chai? I would lean towards Szoboszlai still. I feel like not many people have a double up in Liverpool attack. It's also a nice way to differentiate yourself. What do you guys think? Do hit a vote on that poll. Currently, 56% of you guys on going to Lewis Hall. And I can understand that. What would be a nightmare though is me selling Hincapié. Timber is actually one who misses out. This is why I'm so stuck. Timber is the doubt in the team. I actually think Hincapié will play this game. Imagine I do Hincapié to Hall and Timber is the one who misses out. Therefore, would I not just do Timber to Hall this week, open up some funds and do Hincapié next week? And also, Hincapié is better for DEFCON. I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, you love the move, Anto? I like it too. I do like it too. Gordon or Szoboszlai in for Wilson? Szoboszlai, without a doubt. Saka plus Semenyo plus Thiago, or Cunha, Bruno Guimaraes / Gordon plus Ekitike? The second one, absolutely the second one. Shadow. I don't think Timber is a doubt. Well, it's not that I think Timber is a doubt. I just think I don't like all the noise around the Arsenal defenders, I'll be honest. The logic, as it stands, Timber injured, Hincapié not. See, it's conflicting, isn't it? It's a hard one. Yeah, no, it is Rice who's a doubt, but kind of thinking Gahey to Hall also. Yeah, elsewhere in my team, I could just go Anderson to Hall. I don't actually necessarily need to sell Hincapié this week. I could be really aggressive and hope Timber and Hincapié both play and deal with Hincapié next week with very little funds. What do you make of that move? Which probably is more logical now that I think of it. Actually, let me throw this on for size. Alright, let's do a bit of tinkering, which we love to do on here. So, the move I've just suggested is Hincapié to Hall. Now, I could do that, and the reason I don't like that is because Hincapié is going to play today. But the reason that move sets me up well is it puts 0.2 million in the bank first off. Gets rid of all the price drops that are like 100% going to happen for Nkapie. And thirdly, it lets me double up on the Arsenal defence this week. Or it lets me get rid of one of the Arsenal defenders this week, where I'm not too confident in a clean sheet, I'll be honest. Elsewhere, I can do either Chris Richards or Anderson. Okay, here's a question for you guys. This is going to be hard to view, and I don't know how I'm going to do this, but how am I going to do this? But let me think. Hold on. Let me open up Canva. By the way, guys, this is Canva. This is where I do my editing for my video graphics. I know I'm an absolute rookie, but bear with me just a second. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to screenshot this, and we're going to do a poll in chat on who has better fixtures, Anderson or Chris Richards. I guess we can look from Gameweek 20 onwards, but let's just, for the sake of it, do from Gameweek 19. Put that here. Okay, who has better fixtures, lads? And I know you can't see who's who, so I should probably add their names, but obviously Crystal Palace play against Fulham and Fulham play against Crystal Palace, so this one is Chris Richards and this one is Anderson. Canva's good. Oh, I'm such a rookie. Who's better fixtures? Because I'd be unsure on who I'd want to sell, because as an asset, assuming both are fit, I think I'd actually fancy Fulham as a defence. Again, I don't think there's too much in it where we need to debate it, but out of curiosity, I suppose. Who would you guys back? Anyway, I'd be conflicted. Let me go back to it. So if let's just say, in theory, I penciled in Lewis Hall for, what's his name? For Chris Richards. That means I'll be starting Hall this game week and benching Anderson. And my captaincy armband will be on CUNHA. My team would look like that. Next week, I have 0.1 million in the bank. Game week 20, where my team looks decent, not great. I start Yankuba Minta, bench Raul, and I also start Weaver. In my opinion, anyway. And I can either deal with Nkapie, depending on a Calafiori update. Maybe it actually comes to it where Nkapie actually gets another week, which would be phenomenal. Elsewhere, I start Weaver. But let's just say that, the obvious thing for me to do with one free transfer is to move on Nkapie. The reason why it would be ideal if Nkapie got this game is if I could use 2 free transfers in Game Week 21 where my team looks a bit shot, to do Raul down to someone budget and bring up the likes of a Weaver. That would be ideal. But let's just say for the sake of it, Nkapie is out. Who would I go to in Game Week 20? Like, who is a standout for me? Because I don't think there is really anyone. Like, look at West Ham's fixtures: Wolves, Forest, Tottenham, Sunderland. I mean, that's even a bit bold for my liking. Other than that, I mean, no one really stands out. You could argue Lewis Potter, for example, but I don't know. Puts me in a tough position, in my opinion, because ideally I'd roll the transfer. Am I being greedy trying to get Lewis Hall instead of Elliot Anderson? I would save a transfer and start Minta this week, says Sushant. I do quite like that. Choi, would you still have Rice in your team if you're on wildcard? Absolutely not. Count how many clean sheets for either, Henry says. Probably 0. Burnley will smash Newcastle today. I actually disagree, Sushant. I strongly disagree. Enzo or Semenyo to CUNHA? I would go with Semenyo. Only because it deals with a fire later down the line, and Enzo actually has some decent fixtures later down the line. Alright, let's do a little refresh on the timeline, lads. Let's see what we got going on the timeline. It is quite dark in here. Maybe I'll throw on a light. Give me 2 seconds. Hopefully that's a bit better, guys. Ooh, apologies. All right, where were we? Scrolling on the timeline. Yeah, I wonder how many of you guys brought in Patrick Dorgo this game week. I actually quite like that move of Patrick Dorgo. I prefer Patrick Dorgo over Hall. So that is the other move I could do. So instead of going in Capier to Hall, I could go to Chris Richards to a Patrick Dorgo. And why I like that, it opens up point three. And the point three does go a long way for me because if I do that, let's just show you in FPL team. By the way, I hope this is visible, guys, and apologies if it is awkward. But I could do, let's just say, Chris Richards down to Patrick Dorgo. It gives me how much? 1.1 million to move on, for example, an Anderson or an Hincapié if I want to go to a Gabriel, if I want to go to Cucurella, Guardiola. You name it, I can get to him because that's 6.5 million in the bank. So, I'm unsure how to feel. I do like Dorgo, I have to say. But it feels hard, man. No wonder why you guys have so many questions, man. Indefinite amount of questions. Come on, you Spurs. Is Mint to start in this game week? I would back him to start. Is Dorgo nailed? I would say so. Less nailed than Dallo, but nailed, I want to say, because he can play out of position. Save a transfer to enable Rodgers next game week. Yeah, I could do that. Or I could just take a hit next game week. Alright, here's how I weigh it up in terms of, whether or not it's worth taking a hit. If the player this game week that I want to bring in is going to cover the points of a hit, 4 points. So let's say he is going to get more than 4 points than Anderson would get me this game week. Well, then I think it justifies bringing in that player. I genuinely think both Patrick Dorgo and Lewis Hall have the potential of double-digit hauls this game week. Semenyo to CUNHA, no-brainer. Yeah, it is a no-brainer. I would say so. Is there any midfielders you take a -4 for this game week? No, I don't think so. I don't think so, chicken. If I had an 11, I'd play with that 11. Would you play both United defenders, Dorgo and Dallo on free hit? Yes. I wouldn't be confident in doing it, but my risk appetite would do that, yeah. Robert says, I've been planning to get in Dallo, but considering Hall or Dorgo. Yeah, I would be going Dorgo over Dallo. Again, price. It's always nice to have a dead spot on your bench, I feel. Especially, you're going to want budget later down the line. You mightn't realise it now, but when the likes of a Cole Palmer come back into the picture, and later down the line when the boys come back from AFCON, players like Ismail Assar is going to be back, Mo Salah perhaps, because it looks like he's going to stay at Liverpool now. Bruno Fernandes is going to be back from injury in the next few weeks, so you're going to want some budget, lads. So the players like Dorgo, I feel like that's why it makes him such a good option. Mike, I don't know if Dorgo is reactional. I think people would have been looking at Dorgo, okay, maybe not this much, but I think the reason why they're looking at him now particularly is because he's playing out of position, and whether or not he plays out of position, he's only 4.1 million. It leaves you to do a lot. Choi, will Kudus play full 90? I don't think he'll play full 90, but that wouldn't put me off getting him. The reason I don't think he'll play full 90 is because it's it's a tight schedule over the next few weeks, and in recent weeks he's been subbed off at around 80, I believe. 74 versus Liverpool, which is not ideal, but I would be confident in Kudus' minutes, and in comparison to other players in the league, it's just as good. I think in this period you're going to see a lot of the bigger players be subbed off early. I mean, as much as I'm captaining Erling Haaland, as much as I'm captaining Matheus Cunha, I actually don't think Cunha will get 90 minutes this game week, because if a player like Cunha gets injured for United, when they have big injuries already and players gone to AFCON, I mean, that is very damaging. So I don't think Cunha will get 90 minutes versus Wolves. I am a fixtures manager, but that's why I also fancy Lewis Hall, because I think Lewis Hall, in terms of how Newcastle play, is probably just as good as Patrick Dorgo. Why not Chow instead of Hall? Because I just feel like Hall is, decent at getting DEFCON and provides significantly more attacking threat. Davis says, unless we get news on Timber and Nkapia, I'm going Gahey to Lewis Hall this game week. Yeah, I love that, Davis. I do love that. Hi, Chai. No Palmer for you? Not yet. I feel like he'll be in contention sooner rather than later, though. Sean says, hi, Chai. Roden for Dorgu or Hall? Hall leaves me 0 in the bank, which stops me from getting Gabriel. Currently have Timber, Royce, and Nkapia. I feel like Royce is an issue for you, Sean. So therefore, I think I would go Dorgu. And the reason I would go Dorgu is to deal with Royce if he's hassle next game week. Jinx says, Dorgu is great fixtures in a row. He's my Roden replacement. Yeah, I love that. Best Calafiori replacement? Again, Hall. I can't look past Hall. Dorgu's on 4 yellows, says Richards. Yeah, but this is his last week not to get a yellow, and I'm sure the manager will give him a slap on the wrist. Would you sell Foden to CUNHA captain? Shatara, I think it changes the game when you're going to bring in a player and put the captain on him. Sorry. I don't know why I said it like that. I dropped out of the top 100k to 150k, so leaning towards going against Haaland. First off, Shatara. Again, my standpoint on that is I would never captain a player just because I want to gain on EO. You know, I'd always try captain the best one. But when captaincy is so even to me, again, like this week, I always go with the lesser EO. So if you're on that standpoint, I can understand it completely. But selling Foden to do it, it's very hard for me to sit here and tell you to do that. Again, he's been one of the most on-form players so far this season. Yo, Nkapia is benched tonight according to Arsenal sources. Hamza, show me some proof, but I don't think that is true, my friend. Let's do a little scroll on the timeline now that we're on that topic, actually. Instinctive predicted lineup. Yankuba Minta only, what's that? 50 to 60%. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. You know, I could also start Weaver in my team instead of Anderson and just roll this game week. That is an option. And to be honest, I don't mind it. But again, it's just one of them that I just don't love. Like, even if Weaver starts, there's no guarantee there that he gets more than the first half. Fabian Hursula loves a 45-minute sub. I mean, particularly when we've seen Carlos Bliba throughout the whole season be subbed off at half-time. It does scare me. But I think the thing he has going for him is that this is a good fixture. Why would you make a half-time sub versus West Ham if things are going well, if you know what I mean? And in the reverse fixture, got some decent numbers. It is tempting for me to play Weaver, because if not versus West Ham, then win. How do I show you proof? You tell me the source. That's usually how that works. What are your plans for Wirtz moving forward? Yeah, Wirtz is a tough one because, he's done well in my team since I brought him in. He's Leeds at home, which is a great fixture. He plays Fulham next week, I think it is, before playing Arsenal in 20, which is not ideal. For me, I'd love to move him to Mohamed Kudus. Again, I'm quite high on Kudus. I think we'll start to see a shift if... Look, this is usually how it works in the content creator space. Nobody will talk about Kudus right now, but if he gets one attack in return, I feel like a shift could definitely happen. And in Game Week 20, people will want him. Liam says, have you seen, Choi, what people are saying about Thiago? I don't think that was particularly about Thiago, Liam, but I have seen what people have said. I think that also goes for Vandenberg. You fancy Thiago over Raul? Fair. I can understand that. Con has gone with Soboslai and Dorgu. Solid moves. Can't dispute. Alright, lads. Let's do a little scroll on the timeline. By the way, how many people we got in here? 158 beautiful souls before we have the deadline on the New Year. Well, the day before. Day before New Year's Eve? Yeah, day before New Year's Eve. Thank you to all of you for joining me. Do hit the like button. Let's make the goal of this video 150 bumbleclot likes. Hope you are enjoying, guys. Alright, let's do a little scroll on the timeline. Are we going to get anything interesting? I don't think so, but I can never let you guys down, and we have to make sure of these things. Let's see. Alright, nothing interesting on the timeline. All right. Where are we? Questions. Have you seen the quote on Minta from manager via Fancy Football Scout? So via Late Riser. Let's have a look. Robert, thank you for can't speak. Sorry for suggesting that. By the way, guys, I do apologise if you, 1, find it hard to understand me because I'm Irish. 2, I'm always snuffled up and have a cold. And 3, my brain goes faster than I can talk. So I do apologise for that. Let me try slow down because it can be a hard watch for many, I imagine. And I do apologise about that. So if we look at Late Riser. On Fancy Football Scale. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong area. Maybe it is here. Sorry guys, bear with me. And let's Control F and go Minta. Oh, he's right there. I'm blind. Yeah, Minta was good against Arsenal, but I thought that was a different shape the last few games I've been watching. Robert, let me know what you've seen with that. I'm curious. Sorry, guys, getting sidetracked. Please help. I own Royce, Vandenberg, Richards, and Keane. Nico. Effing chat for Nico. Start 3 of them with 1 free transfer. Do I take a hit? And if so, which transfers would you recommend? Alright. I would, in that situation, actually just play Vandenberg, Richards, and Keane. And deal with Rice. If I'm being honest. That's what I would do. Good luck this game week, says Adam. What do you think of Collins? And would you sell Mukiele or Goodmanson? Collins is a good option for sure. I don't fancy him this week. I would sell Goodmanson. Actually, I wouldn't mind either Goodmanson or Mukiele to Dorgo. It could be worse. You could have a Scottish accent. Them folk don't speak English. Exactly, Evo. It could always be worse. Would you get rid of Timber if you could? Absolutely. If you gave me infinite transfers now, Timber would not be in my wildcard. Toast on Timber, Senesi to hold Dorgo. Love that. Hey Chai, I'm going to prepare dinner. Let me know, Visser, what's for dinner. I'm intrigued. Have a good game week. Your team looks good. Happy New Year in advance. Good luck hunting in FPL. Thank you, Visser. Really appreciate it. Merry Christmas not only to you, but you and your family. Enjoy it. Lads, I just kind of had a notion there to actually start Weaver. I'm tempted. You know, if he starts this game week, great. And going into Burnley, he looks quite good. Is he better than Anderson? Probably. So why not just try starting? The only problem I have with that is it blocks the route for me to go if I want to do Lewis Hall. Lads, I'm conflicted. Option, alright, let's put up some options in chat. Sell Hincapié to Hall. Actually, no, I've already done that poll. Feck. Alright. I'm confused now. Like, that team to me doesn't look bad if you told me that Weaver is going to start this game versus West Ham. The problem is Weaver and Minta going to start this game versus West Ham? That's the question in contention. Let me think. Another part of me goes, why not just start Weaver as well and bench Raul? I don't think this is a high-scoring game for Fulham and Crystal Palace. But Raul has been a player who's been on good form, so it is hard for me to do that. Richards to Hall, Anderson to Hall, Hincapié to Hall. None of them play Weaver. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Should I do Semenyo to Gordon? That is not necessary this game week, I don't think. But you could definitely do it. Start Thiago and play 3-4-3? Absolutely not. I'm not playing Thiago versus Tottenham this game week. Absolutely not. You will not catch me starting Thiago this game week. Pick one for a fifth midfielder, Gary says. Wilson, Gravenberch or Elliot Anderson. For what it's worth, I don't think Elliot Anderson is too poor this game week. I would probably lean towards Gravenberch. Not that any of them are that explosive, but... -4 for Dorgu, says Michael. My defence now is Timber, Richards, Anderson, Mukiele and Goodmanson. I think so, because it sets you up nicely next week, Michael. I would do that. And it would be for Goodmanson. Yes, that's correct and right. Royce Verts, why not X-Player? I probably would prefer Soboslai in this point in time, but yeah, not a bad move. Petrovic versus Dubravka. Probably Petrovic. Not too much in that though, I don't think. Tottenham boys kicking in. That's the thing though. I wouldn't even say it's Tottenham boys. I would say it's absolutely Tottenham boys. I have no shame. But you have to also account for the fact that Thiago has not played one midweek game this season so far. I don't know if you noticed, but it is midweek. And therefore, I also don't think Tottenham is the easiest game. But yeah, fair enough. No, I get it. Look, I would never advise anyone else to not start Thiago, but I'm not starting him. And you know what? I've no doubt that Thiago could do well this game week. I'm just saying this week I'll not be starting him. Alright. Where are we? What am I doing then? I don't know is the answer. I actually really don't know. I lean, if I were to tell you right now, I lean towards Lewis Hall. But not by much, I'll be honest. What if I do Lewis Hall this game week, Verts to Kudus next game week, and move on Hincapie in game week 21? Take a price drop or two, because I don't think he's actually gone up enough for me to lose any value on him, unless he sees 2 price drops. I actually quite like that. I don't know how you guys feel about that, because then I can see what happens. Hello George, good to see you, my boy. Good to see you. I think you need to reconsider starting Thiago. A lot of people are saying that, but if Thiago does well versus Tottenham, it'll be a double-edged sword where I'll be double disappointed because I've benched him. But I'm going to stand on business and say, you know what, I'm going to back my team. I think Spurs can do enough to keep Thiago out. AMR is adamant that I make a free hit draft. And you know what? Because you've been so adamant, let's do it. But it's very similar to the one on Solio. I'll bang this up in, I would say, about 2 minutes. It would look like this. Again, no budget constraints I'm going to make this because I don't know what your budget is, but I'm going to assume you can fit many of these into your team. And the one for me is double Liverpool attack with Dominic Szoboszlai and Ekitike. CUNHA is going to be in. Patrick Dorgu for the value. I don't think, for me anyway, I would go with any Arsenal defenders. Tough decision, but I don't think I would. Lewis Hall has to be in the team for me. I feel like you could go with Bruno Guimaraes, but you could also not go with Bruno Guimaraes and just go with Hall. You can go with Le Mans, or you can go with O'Reilly. Sorry guys, I'm just filtering through this right now. You know what, on a free hit I'd spice it up. I'd also go with Kudus for the X-Spicy. Not optimal by any means, definitely don't copy this because what do I know, but that's what I would do on a free hit. Midfielder on penalties that no one owns. Could have had an assist last game, we're just saying. On goal, who would I go with? Can't go with Ramsdale. Probably Le Mans. Yeah, 3-5-2. That's what I would go with. For Bergen, Chicken says. Palmer over Saka, surely. Yeah, actually, you can go with Palmer. If you can stretch to a Palmer on a free hit, go for it. But from a Foden, I'd actually keep Saka this game week. That's just me though. Bournemouth ship away goals for fun. I agree, but I don't think that necessarily translates to Chelsea are going to smash them, because I don't think Chelsea have been necessarily phenomenal from an attacking point of view. They've been good though. You could go with Bruno G. You could also go without Bruno G. Yeah, what I meant by that guy is that, like, he's not necessarily essential on a free hit just because he's got a good fixture. Like, I would be happy to leave him out, but if you had him in, I'd understand that. Sorry. I know, absolutely woeful content. Kudos on pens? Yes, I would say so. More likely than not for me. Here's how we stand, lads. Again, I'm uncertain. George, let me know if you're locked in, my boy. What are you doing? O'Reilly and Kelleher or Lewis, Potter and Lemens? For this game week, Lewis, Potter and Lemens. But just... Brentford were not phenomenal from an attacking point of view prior to Bournemouth, though, against Wolves and Leeds. Yeah, that's why I've benched Thiago. Odegaard and Rodgers, or Saka and Gravenberch? Saka and Gravenberch, but barely. Start DCL or Wilson, my brother? I mean, it's hard to look past DCL in this current point in time, isn't it? It has to be Wilson, but I don't think either of them will get much in this game. Are you planning for Chelsea in Game Week 22? Absolutely, Robert. I do fancy him. Start Volamaade or Foden? I think you have to start Foden, fortunately, even though it's hard. You must have a good team koala to be benching Volamaade. Recommend me a fourth midfielder, Gordon, Wirtz or Palmer on a free hit. Palmer if you can get there. Semenyo plus Royce replacements. Mateus Cunha, if you don't already have him. Dominic Szoboszlai if you don't have him. Got you, Stephen. If Palmer is leaked to start, on free hit, surely you go there. I think either way, leaked or not, I think he's likely to start this game, so I'd probably go with Palmer regardless. Alright, let's do a little refresh on the timeline, guys. Another account suggesting that Keane might not start tonight. Again, cannot confirm the reliability of the accounts. Well, there you go, guys. Some more information about Everton. Again, not locked in though. That would be an absolute kick in the teeth for Manny if Keane is out. Here's Rob T's overall graphic, which we'll take a look at now. 0.92 expected goals for Haaland. That is crazy high. Crazy high. Didn't realise it was that high. Jeez. What else is interesting on this graph? Where is Florian Wirtz? That's my question. Where Wirtz? I don't think he's on this. Oh, he's right there. Sorry, I'm blind, guys. Behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Well, that says a lot. How is Dominic Calvert-Lewin expected more goals than Florian Wirtz? What is going on? What world do I live in? That would tell you how Liverpool's season's gone so far. Jeez. Mateta and Thiago being that high is hilarious. I know, like, what? Sesko question mark? Yeah, not bad, I guess. But do you really want to bring in Sesko? Like, you have to really ask yourself that question. When you say it in words, it doesn't sound great. Alright. Still nothing interesting on the timeline. Just more updates further on Everton, on Michael Keane. Make it out as you will. Nothing confirmed again. I think particularly with Everton, it's hard to say about reliable sources because very rarely do we ever get those sort of leaks. Palmer or Neto on free hit? Rob, I'd be going Palmer. Uganda just subbed on their third goalkeeper of the match in their AFCON match. One injured, substitute goalkeeper got red carded. Total chaos. What? Let me pull that up real quick, non-FPL related. Let me type in Uganda. What is going on over there? That is so gas. Red card for Uganda goalkeeper, making a save outside the box. What is going on? A save outside the box, you very rarely see that. That is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Oh Lord. Anyway, where were we before I got sidetracked? That is phenomenal. Gary says, sound like peak AFCON and benching Timber and Rhea playing the Bravkan Anderson. My balls are you doing that, Spacine? I'd like to see that. Jose says, Semenyo to Kudus for a differential. Thoughts shy. As a Spurs fan, just got a good feeling about him. I'm the same. Quite like the idea of Mohamed Kudus. Semenyo to Kudus though. Semenyo's last game versus Chelsea, who've been okay as an defence, I think I would just save my transfer. Unless you want Kudus long term, then I would justify it. Minta to CUNHA, a good move this week. Or keep Minta for this week and sell him to CUNHA after this game week. George, I think you as a United fan in your heart also want to bring in CUNHA. I would bring in CUNHA, my boy. AFCON, the gift that keeps on giving. You gotta love some AFCON, guys. Has anyone actually watched an AFCON game out of curiosity? I've actually not done it yet. I probably will though when we get into the later stages of the tournament. Give us some predictions, Shai. Alright, let's do my top 3 predictions going into the game week. And you guys, feel free to join in. Let's not do only correct scores this game week. Let's also do it in a sense where you can predict the goal scorer, you can predict a yellow card, something that just you have a feeling that stands out to you. If you can predict it, I want to hear it. Nice one, Dan. Good to hear that you're a Nigerian. Okay, the first one for me this game week will be that Mohamed Kudus will get a goal. That is just me. Second thing for me will be that Villa get a draw versus Arsenal. And the third one will be Sesko goal, CUNHA assist. Alright, how's that? FPL Premier League schedule too busy right now to pay attention to AFCON. Maybe the knockout rounds. Yeah, that's fair. Morocco will win that for the AFCON. Yeah, who do you guys have for the AFCON? Let me know. Semenyo won last hole. Yeah, Christmas hole. Trinil, Brentford, Lewis Potter, Bryce. Yeah, you wish, Mackham. You wish. Yermi Pino scores for Crystal Palace. I said it here, lads. We will be here, Rian. Hakimi is back from Morocco. I didn't know that. Start one of Semenyo, Wilson, Minsa. Probably Semenyo, Penn. A lot of people saying Brentford beat Spurs. Arsenal will win and not concede. Haaland will score too. Love that. Gabriel, welcome back goal. Yeah, that would be some Christmas gift. The panic that would leak in if that happened. Alright, let's speak about my team again, guys. Still unsure where I stand, but I mean, for large parts of this season, where I think I've been poor is I've said to myself, not been aggressive enough. In the last 2 weeks back to back, brought in Antoine Semenyo, 10-pointer. Sold Antoine Semenyo last game week for Florian Wirtz, captained him. Gained 16 points on captaincy. I feel like I want to continue with this, play aggressive, and say Hincapié has a chance to start next game week, so I'll hold on to him. And bring in Lewis Hall. Short term, not ideal, but I like the move. Now, the question is, do I start Weaver and do it for Hincapié? Or do I just move on Richards or Anderson and have a bit more depth? The other move I could do, Patrick Dorgu for Richards or Anderson. Bench Weaver. And if I'm being honest, I don't know where I stand out of all those moves, but I'm leaning towards making a move this week. I don't know where it's coming from, but I just feel a whole incoming. First bench, Richards or Anderson. Well, I would always prefer the home fixture and Palace in general, so I would put Richards first bench even though he's not fit. Start Garner or Joachim Anderson. I would start Joachim. Yo Henry says, I need your help. Virgil, Timber, Keane, Esteve, Roden, 0 free transfers. Would you take a hit? No, I would not take a hit. Tough. Good to see you, Tough. AKA Chris, how are you? Best Timber replacement. What are you doing, Shy? I wouldn't be replacing Timber unless you have to, Chris. I don't think so. I would risk trying to get him this game week. Starting. Should I captain Hall? Probably not Callum, but I've heard crazier shouts. Neto plus Bowen or Gordon plus Voldemade on free hit. Ooh. Rob, that's tough. I would say can you do Gordon and Bowen? I think Gordon and Bowen would be the pick for me. Thoughts on the Cyper? You can never be positive on the start, so I don't know if I go there. Alright, another little scroll on the timeline, lads. Ugh. Half an hour until the deadline is up. Let's do a little scroll to see if we get any more information. I doubt we will. The thing about moving, like the problem with my squad right now, lads. Sorry, I'm just trying to give you my thought process if any of you are interested. Chris, from my understanding, he's with the squad. Again, don't quote me on that. Do a bit of digging though and tell me if I'm wrong. The issue with my squad is the value I have built up on the bench. Anderson, Richards and Thiago, or not Thiago, maybe Raul. What's that? Maybe 5 million I have on the bench week to week. I need to move Raul on and bump up Thiago. And I also need to move on Anderson and Richards. I don't like playing with this much depth going forward. That's why Patrick Dorgo is a good move. But it's why, like, it's tough. Like, bringing in Lewis Hall for Richards actually kind of puts me a bit further back because, one, doesn't solve the Hincapié problem I'm having. But is Hincapié necessarily a problem? That's my question. Secondly, it puts more money on the bench, which is not ideal. But if it picks me up some points, I don't think I'll be complaining. CUNHA against his old club, absolutely tiny fungus. I love that narrative. And it's, to make it even better, his old club is Wolves, so great fixture. Rian says, selling Capier for Hall because he isn't good for long term and you will want space for Gabriel. Good luck this week, Chai. That's the thing though. I don't know if I will want Gabriel, Rian. And if I do, I can do Hincapié to Gabriel later down the line. Liam says, feels wrong to do Timber to Dorgo when I have Roden, but need it to afford CUNHA. Cheeky Casemiro cover. Oh God. Love that though, Liam. Mike says, he's changed his mind on captaincy. Sunderland without Ballard and Man City with a chance to go top potentially. Yeah. I can't knock you for that. But the thing is, Man City have been on a run for a few weeks now. Every week it seems we've almost been putting the arm on Haaland. Every single game is important to City, and it always has been. So I can understand the narrative, but it wouldn't change my mind too much. I also really like Matheus Cunha. Hincapié isn't a problem till Calafiori is back. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. He doesn't trust Moyes Lewis-Skelly. Would you rather start Harry Wilson or DCL? Harry Wilson, but barely. Why is Thiago last on your bench? He ain't starting versus Tottenham, against my Tottenham. But if I'm you, I'd start him. Choi, do you think Semenyo will start? Yeah, I think he's more likely to start than not. Choi, my fellow Irish brother, the best Rice replacements. For me, it's Dominic Szoboszlai. He's probably still the best. If you already have Szoboszlai or you don't want to get him, I genuinely think Kudus is an outside shout. Crosby says, on free hit, Foden and O'Reilly, 4 at the back, or Shirky and Sesko, 3 at the back. I really think Sesko will do well. Well, you've answered your own question. If you think Sesko is going to do well, I would go with Sesko, and I wouldn't think too much more on it. Alright, little scroll in the timeline. Again, just more on Michael Keane here, lads. Again, I don't love the noise around it, for sure. Do you know what would be hilarious? If come the deadline, it was actually Declan Rice starting, and Calafiori at left back. I mean, that would be absolute cinema. And we will be there for it if it does happen. That would be crazy. We would have never seen Terrace in the league like it from Arteta. That would be another level. That would be hilarious. Anyway, let me get back to my own team. Try Alisson or Sanchez? Alisson without a doubt. It's mad Dorgo goes from not getting a game in weeks to being the most popular FPL pick. I can see why though. They can't really play anyone else. Like their back line consists of Martinez, who just came back from injury. Dorgu, Dallo, and Heaven. So, no surprise that he has to start. What is the Rice injury? It's a knee, Yanto. A knee, which is never good. Bench 2 of Rodgers, Wilson, DCL, Thiago. I would bench DCL, and I would bench, reluctantly, probably Rodgers. Would you start Joachim Anderson or Keane? 0-90 this week? Yeah, I do think it's a case of 0-90 for Keane this week. No way he's going to be benched and come on. So I would just play Keane if you have him. That's just me though. That is just me. Hi Troy, would you do triple captain on CUNHA or on Haaland? Again, Christopher, I really think this is a good week to try pick up some differential points on the armband. I think particularly when you have the triple captain, I would lean towards CUNHA because I don't know if you guys are aware, but last week CUNHA was only 8% at my rank, effective ownership, which is crazy low. Now, of course, you're going to see him being one of the most bought players this game week, but still, like, can't imagine too many people are bringing him in and captaining him. A lot will be scarred from Erling Haaland, and rightly so. Haaland is still a phenomenal option, don't get me wrong. You're playing bench boost, says Rid1. He says, I have Kamara, who is suspended. Should I get a transfer for -4 of 6.3 million? I think if you can get to 6.3 million is not enough for Mohamed Kudus, unfortunately. I don't think it is worth a hit then, because I can't think of anyone who's under 6.3 million that's worth taking a hit for. Have you seen Thiago's a doubt for this week? I have. Who's the best goalkeeper for free hit team, Chai, says Koala? Probably Lemens. Elsewhere, Raya is still one of the best. If you're not going triple Liverpool elsewhere, probably Alisson is not bad. Again, Leeds at home is always going to be a good fixture for Liverpool. Would you start Thiago or Calvert-Lewin? I'd absolutely start Thiago. The only reason I'm not starting Thiago is because I'm a Spurs fan. And I don't think, as a Spurs fan, knowing my team and the way we're going to set up, I don't think... So this is the Thiago quote. Thiago had a bit of an issue, but nothing to do with his injury last season at all. This time of the year, it takes a toll and need to be careful with some players at times. He showed a lot of bravery and courage to play against Wolves and gave us that platform, but he played really, really well and gave us the base for the win at that game. Make it that as you will, guys. Team stinks, bro. Cool, Kyle. Cool. Is Keane injured? Potentially. Aline. Hello, Aline. I didn't know... Aline? Alina? However you say it, let me know in chat. I'm sweating this deadline. I have Roden, Richer as Royce, Timber. I have 2 free transfers and want to bring in CUNHA, but need to sell Timber. Is it worth it, or do I take a gamble and hope Timber plays? I would be definitely sorting out Rice, because without a doubt, you know Rice is a problem and he's not going to play. I would definitely, if you're happy with your Rice replacement, then I'll be definitely trying to start Timber this game week. Again, there is a lot of uncertainty, but I think it is better to hold on to Rice this game week. Or not Rice, sorry, Timber this game week. Dorgu for Hincapié, I don't mind it, don't love it. Yo, what's good, says Isomagic. Good to see Isomagic. Start Keane or Wilson? Isomagic, start Keane. If he doesn't, if he's not in the squad, again, I don't think there's any situation where he's on the bench. FPL Aguero says he's on bench boost. Do I sell Keane for the sake of bench boost or farm the one less player? Farm the one less player for me. Again, unless you want to go rogue and trust the quotes and go Dorgu, but I don't know, that's just a bit too risky for my liking. Would you bring Ekitike next week? Probably if I could, but I can't. Start Mateta or Raul? I probably would play Mateta over Raul due to penalties. Again, lads, don't be surprised to see some early rotation this game week. Overall, across the board, because again, quick turnarounds are coming. Bench 1, Semenyo, Wilson, Minta, Thiago. Probably Wilson in that case. Alright, another cheeky little scroll on the timeline, guys, to see what's going on. Well, Choi Lad, says NX. He says, start 2, Raul, Wilson, and Rogers. I probably would start... That is tough, like, there's really not much in these. But I probably would start Raul for the penalties. And bench... I'd be happy enough benching either Wilson or Rogers. So, I would probably bench Rogers because, let's just say, Raul gets something. Well, it's probably going to come through Wilson. Again, you might disagree with that logic, fair enough, but that would be my thought process. Alright, still nothing interesting on the timeline. I'm actually really excited to watch the Arsenal game tonight versus Villa. What game will you guys be watching tonight? Again, I know there are some 7:30 kickoffs and some 8 o'clock kickoffs which will clash, of course, but for 7:30, I think I'll just go Chelsea-Bournemouth, even though I don't own anyone in that game. If I'm being greedy and want to watch some of the players I own, if I bring in Lewis Hall, I might go Newcastle. And then, of course, I'll be watching Arsenal-Villa, because as much as I'll have CUNHA captain tonight, the game for me is Arsenal. Benching Rodgers over Thiago? I'd definitely start Thiago over Rodgers. I don't see... Look, the highest clean sheet probability this week is Arsenal. They will always be the highest game probability this game week. I know he's been scoring bangers and bangers and bangers, but it's not sustainable. Realistically, because Thiago's on penalties, you have to start him. FPL Aguero, that's not a reliable source. But let's do a little scroll on the timeline, just for the sake of it. Lads, I don't know what to do with my transfer. I could well and easily roll this game week. But my P brain tells me to be aggressive and just do Anderson to Hall. That's what my intuition tells me. However suboptimal it is, that's what my brain tells me to do. And normally when I get that feeling, I just can't go against it. So I think I am going to bring in Lewis Hall for Anderson. If in doubt, roll. Get 1 week more info, especially with Arsenal defenders. Exactly, Ivo. That's the problem. But I'm greedy. The problem is I'm greedy. And I just feel like I've not been greedy enough this season. So often in previous seasons when I've done well, I've always been greedy and trying to get, the upside in a given week. I genuinely think this could be, such a high upside week for Hall. And I just happen to have the money to do it. It could be a mistake, absolutely, but great risk, great reward, absolutely. Nico says, hey Chai, I'm back, welcome back. Ended up starting Mukiele, Keane and Richards and benching Vandenberg and Royce. Nico, that is so unlucky. Keane, Richards, Vandenberg, and Rice. My God. Just roll, bro, says Kurt. I can see it both ways. Go for it, Shy. It's who you are. Exactly, Derek. Go with your gut, Shy. Bring in Hall. But then at the same time, Weaver is not the worst hold. Like, if I just played that, I'd have no complaints if you told me Weaver starts. The absolute worst case scenario for me is, of course, Hassan lose their clean sheet. Hall holds, and Weaver doesn't start. But at the same time, Weaver could start and Hall. Yeah, it's the same feeling you got from Matty Cash. You remember that Matty Cash move? Absolutely phenomenal. I need a bit more credit for that because there was no one doing that. But yeah, I didn't realize there's 200 of you guys in here. Basically, for anyone who's just joined, I'm indecisive on whether or not I want to bring in either roll selling Capier to Hall or sell Anderson / Richards to Hall. I'm leaning towards Anderson to Hall and benching Weaver this game week, playing Weaver next week versus Burnley. To the 200 that are in here, welcome to the stream if you're just after joining us. Do hit the like button and subscribe if you aren't already. Again, we are setting a goal of 150 likes, so hit that button for us and do show face in chat. Get your question in. I'm answering as many as possible through this hectic period. But for now, let's do a little scroll on the timeline to make sure we do not miss any late information. The other move I could do is Dorgo. But what irks me about Dorgo is that I've missed the price rise. So I'm over that. I think I'm over it. Even though that should not be putting me off it. But I feel like Hall is a better option than Dorgo. Let's not get it mistaken. Even though there is quite a bit of hype with Dorgo. Saying that though, there's 1 million in difference from a Patrick Dorgo to a Lewis Hall. I don't know, man. Lewis Hall has been impressive though. I'm going to go with the gut. Tells me Lewis Hall. Love that. Kudus has entered the thinking, Louis. I have to let him know that I love it. Alright guys, let's get back to our own team and get this transfer started. First off, alright, okay, I'm going to close. Is there a poll in chat? Never been this unsure 10 minutes before deadline. Davis, I have, trust me, I have. You should have seen me last game week. Not last game week, the week before that, I think I was all over the place. Usually, lads, I'm not this much all over the place. Going into the game week, I know what I want to do, but not this one. By the way, my script is wrong for the time. Let me quickly update that. We have 13 minutes until the end of the deadline. I'm going to change it to 12 so you see it end before it actually does. Timber starts, Keane info. A lot of unsurety about Keane for anyone who's just joined us. Timber, he's involved, he's with the squad, whatever the hell that means. But for me, Richards or Anderson. Those fixtures are just as bad as Anderson's, I'll be honest. They are woeful. But in 26 and 27 and 28, I could want Richards. In comparison to Anderson, what weeks will I want him? I know you have. Why not Richards out? That's what I'm contemplating here, Chicken. I don't know. I can't give you a definitive answer on why I would go Richards over Anderson or Anderson over Richards. And that's what I'm trying to check out. But I could want Anderson for game week 22, 23, 24, 25, 27, 29, 31. Again, looking way too far into the future. I could wildcard by then, but okay, let's do a little poll. That's the best way to do it. Let the jury speak. Chat, enlighten me. Sell Richards, Anderson, and then if you have a case to state, why? Usually it's a 12-man jury, but this time we have a 200 chat jury. Let's see what you guys are saying. Majority on Richards. Interesting. Joachim Anderson or Elliot Anderson? I would probably start Elliot Anderson this game week. Good fixture in my opinion. Fancy for us to get some sort of result this week. Start Wilson or Minta? I'll be starting Minta. I think Robinson will be better Fulham pick going forward. Fair. The majority say Richards. That's fair. Why not bring out the injured guy? You don't know what his minutes look like, I guess. Makes sense. Gary said, I mean your question. Joachim Anderson or Elliot Anderson? I don't own Elliot Anderson, so it answers itself, I suppose. Best goalkeeper this game week on free hit. Le Mans, Allison, Reyes even up there on a free hit. Okay, time to move. It's getting a bit too late for my liking, and it's a midweek deadline, so you never know when FPL are going to shut off their servers. So let's get myself locked in. Again, thank you to the 100 of you who have already voted on the poll. But for me, I'm going to go with the gut. Lewis Hall has significantly more chance of output than a wee for this game week for me. I don't like the fact that I have to hold on to Nkapie, but look at those fixtures, lads. It's not going to get better than that. Burnley, Crystal Palace at home, Leeds at home, Wolves away, Villa at home, Liverpool away where I bench him, Brentford at home. Lewis Hall, welcome to a cup of chai. I hope you enjoy your stay and get in my team. Welcome. That's how we look, guys. I am locked in. Captaincy is going to be on Matheus Cunha. We have 9 minutes until the stream. I hope you've enjoyed the decision making from my end. Again, it's been a bit messy. Usually it's not that choppy, but hope you'd enjoy me struggle. And thank you for all your input. Again, before I go on a quick fire question spree, get your questions in. I'll get to as many as I can in the last 8 minutes. But before you do that, do hit the like button and subscribe. So let's get through your questions. And actually, I'm going to scroll through the timeline while you guys put your questions in chat. Hi Chai, is Gordon news reliable? What is the Gordon news? That he starts? No, it is not reliable. Do you advise me to sell Gehi for Chow, Malik Chow? I don't necessarily, no. I wouldn't recommend it. Vandenberg or Minta? Start Minta. Gary says, would you consider Foden to Gordon? I don't think so, Gary. Not for me. Keane or O'Reilly? I would start O'Reilly. Minta or Timber? I would start Minta. Ekatike or Cunha captain? For me, Cunha. Jacob Murphy or Barnes? It's one of those, but I think... What has Barnes' minutes been like in recent weeks? I actually don't have a solid answer for you. Sorry, 1 sec, let me check. Not great. Probably Jacob Murphy, I guess. Don't really like either of them. Start Elliot Anderson or Semenyo? Definitely Antoine Semenyo. Not sure what to do with Raul Jimenez long term. Yeah, long term it gets a bit tricky, but for now, hold on to him and start him. Good player in good form and getting confidence. Double United with Dorgu and Dallo, or just Dorgu and someone else under 5 million playing bench boost. Go with Dorgu and Dallo. I feel like if you're going with Dorgu, you're doubling down and go Dallo. My rank is 700, says Cubbyfish. Should I captain Cunha or Haaland to preserve rank? It would be largely irrelevant for me in what rank you are at to decide my captaincy. For context, when I was in the top 100, I always went with who I thought would score the most points. So, the question I would ask you is, who do you think is going to do better this game week? If you think it is very, very close and you can't decide, I would always go with the less EO player. Omara says, Keane not in the squad. Where are you seeing that, Omara? Foden, Timber, or Hall and Cunha? Hall and Cunha. Gehi or Elliot Anderson? Gehi. Elliot Anderson or Verts? Would you do Vandenberg to Hall or Dewsbury Hall to Sabo for a -4 or Royce on bench? Tough question for me to answer without me seeing your whole team, but I would do Vandenberg and Hall to Dewsbury Hall and Sabasai. Yes, I like that move. Verbergen or Sanchez? Sanchez. EFC home. Yeah, I saw that, Amara. It looks quite solid. Hall or Dorgu? Flip of a coin. It depends what structure you want to set up for your team. Johnny says, best midfielder between Amari, McAllister and Esteval. I would go with McAllister. Mackie. Raul or Minta? I'd probably lean towards Minta. Can I hear more on why you're benching Anderson? Great fixture, no? I would not say great fixture. Chris Palace is by no means a great fixture. Now that I look at it, is a bench boost for the bench. Keep Timber or move him to Dorgu/Hall. I probably would keep Timber for this game with Chris. Again, it depends on your risk appetite. The risky thing is to bring in Hall. If you don't mind not having Timber for these tough run of games, get rid of Timber now. Fahim says, Choi, I've done Royce to Sabo for a -4, according to what you replied to my question. Wish me luck, and I hope everyone's lucky this game week. Absolutely, Fahim. Best of luck this game week. I do like the move of Royce to Sabo. I think, especially when you have no one else to play in your team. Do you think Dorgu is a good option? Absolutely, is a good option. Take the hit for Dorgu or play a non-playing defender. So when you say a non-playing defender, does that mean play with 10 men? If that's the case, I would bring in Dorgu. Best of luck, Nathan. We have 4 minutes until the deadline, lads. I'm going to do one more little refresh on the timeline, see if we can get any sort of information before we close up. By the way, I've really enjoyed the stream to the 200 that are in here. Do hit the like button and subscribe, lads. We are getting closer and closer to 10k subscribers as we head into the new year. And also, if you are leaving the stream now, Happy New Year to not only you but your family. I do hope you enjoy it. And let me know in chat if you have any plans for the new year. I'm intrigued to see what you guys do. For me, I'm hoping to have a quiet one in and potentially watch the football. Dorgu or Dallo? Dorgu or Dallo. I'd probably go with Dorgu. Bro, start Miley or Minta. Minta for me. I'm actually going to put Weaver first bench. I feel like this could be a week where I might need it. Weaver, save team. Now, lads, just for proof, because I'm seeing a lot of people complain about their teams not being locked in, and make sure you do it. But make sure you've clicked your chips and click save. I've refreshed the page, so it's proof that my team is saved. But I hope you've enjoyed the stream, lads. Absolutely smash the like button before me for the New Year's. I hope you'd enjoyed the stream. It's been so enjoyable for me. Start 5 at the back and start O'Reilly. I would probably play O'Reilly over Minta in case there's any minutes risk. Is Ramsdale starting? I would say he's more likely to start than not. But I'm going to wrap it up there, lads. Again, I'm not going to go anywhere for a few minutes until we get to the end of the stream, but I'm not going to take any more questions. But I just want to talk about, the year we've had, because there will not be any more content before the end of the year. But I've really enjoyed this year of making content. Since the start of the season, I've tried to be as consistent for you guys as possible, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the content. Again, sometimes might miss the odd deadline stream, but that stuff is going to happen. But either way, it's been an enjoyable season so far for me, and I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. And do enjoy the new year. Again, going into the new year, a lot of people have goals. That's what I want to hear from you guys. What are your goals going into the new year? Do you have any particular goals or resolutions? Let me know in chat, because I am really intrigued. For me, I want to eat a bit cleaner. Not necessarily that I have to, but because I want to be back full time in the gym, and it looks like I'll be starting Roaccutane, or Accutane as it's called, which is going to be tough on the liver, but I want to clear up my skin, so it's going to be a large effort for me going into the new year. So I'm looking forward to it, and best of luck this week, guys. Anto and all the channel members. I'm working the night shift. He says, the busiest night of the year. Be safe and sensible, everyone. There you go, Anto. You heard it here first from Anto. Make sure you listen. CUNHA captain, let's have it, bro. An Irish flag from David. Love that. FPL Tiger says, cheers. Have a good new year. Thank you. See you next year, says Ahmed. Fahim says, to get a job and get back, sorry guys, to my fitness regime. Very good, Fahim. Love that. See you later, Ahmed. Let me pull up the chat for you guys so I can see all of you. Derek says, appreciate the content. Happy New Year, child. My only goals are Tottenham goals. Come on, you Spurs. Love that, Derek. Okay, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there. I've hoped you've enjoyed another amazing stream. Tony Lassie says, love the content, Shy. All the best for the new year. My goals is a bit more physically active and improve my horrific sleep pattern. I'm sure you guys can do it. And to all of you guys, keep the head up. I know not only is it a year of lots of goals, but a lot of people struggle going into this period of time. So head up slash head down, whatever way you want to look at it. And best to look this game week, lads. As usual, I will see you in the next.